me a sec, I'm healing.
Where's the follow-up? What? Wait.
Guys, where's...
Guys,
What?
my dumbass just said Sky, come here. Oh, what the hell?
No, my ace, you fucking little... I hate you!
Ready? Wanna ulti now?
Wait, there should be a corner right here that we can walk through. Oh, never mind. There's
Did I steal your ace? My fault.
I love having less.
Oh my god, and it was a recon dart too.
You know.
He didn't even mean it! He didn't even mean that shot too. Watch this, watch this. Wait, watch this.
No way. That...
A bitter end.
Oh, wait. What? Is that Hanzo on
They
the...
nanoed him to keep him alive. Oh yeah, I see him. I have blade.
Wait, that did not hit me. What?
Somebody call an ambulance!
Try and keep high though, try and keep high, like call him and then keep high.
Oh my god, that flick!
Good stuff.
Over here.
We're on the tank, sir. Our tank.
I'm on the rest of their team.
Out of charge.
He's going up top.
He's gonna jump up top.
I tried to move him off, but alas.
Oh. Oh.
Oh my god!
You're an asshole, bro. How did he even hit that hook? Dude, this is not real life. This you were pretty low.
No, I wasn't, bro. I was like 319 HP. Unless he mitigates shield?
Brother, if I don't get a fucking pocket the next time I ult, I'm gonna kill myself. What the hell?
Sniper! Don't get caught!
290.
What are you doing? Go cook!
200. 200. Yo, we need you. 275. Why are you rocking so much? 275. Best sniper in the game. I'm the best sniper in the game. You wanna? 275.
Oh nah, they
Wow.
fucking died. I just...
Oh my god. Let me tell you guys something. I can't trust my internet right now. I don't know I really don't know what's happening at this point, because you know, there's probably like a circuit problem on my end, and you know, it's not, the game doesn't load, you know, occasionally the stream would just straight up get cut out. And so now we would have to, you know, periodically the internet would just straight up, you know, get cut out, and then I would not be able to stream. I was actually nervous that, you know, I wouldn't be able to stream for the rest of the night, but I mean, here we are, round 2, I guess. Let me also get the overlay going, which apparently it didn't come up when I wanted it to, so we're gonna have to rely on the old overlay. That's fine. Let's get the scoreboard up. Time controls are not needed. We'll do the objective timers and scoreboard, and we're good to go. All right, we're just gonna have to rely on the old one. All right, so Things that I missed yet. Things that I missed. First off, I should mention that game 1 went on the side of Dal. Pace did not win game 1, but we'll see if they can bounce back in game 2 with a Brand and Nami comp, which is actually also an interesting combination because yes, with Nami's boosting abilities, this does work on abilities as well. So near hits abilities will be augmented with Nami's bubbles. Well, pretty hefty trades. I will say though, for Pace's comp, they are technically lacking a DPS. Yes, you could say that Brand's DOT is able to kind of compensate for the lack of, attack damage. But, if he's unable to land those abilities, which, yes, you can say Dal doesn't have a very mobile comp. You have the Kog'Maw, but Janna can supposedly boost up his speed, giving him some extra movement speed to boot. Dragonfear able to hit level 2 before his opponent, so already Pace do have the farming advantage, so we'll give them that. But let's see if they can maintain that for the rest of the game. And they also do have good trade potential, as you can see here with the Electrocute on the Ahri. And with the brand having Ardent Comet instead of the Airy. Oh my god. Yeah, I know. I will admit also I have to lower my voice a little bit because my parents are sleeping, so keep that in mind. Second time's the charm when it comes to the stream, and then of course, at the time where I want to, yell out big plays, I can't. So we'll just have to make do. Alrighty. Alright, so yeah, I wish I knew what happened in game 1, because literally the moment that the game was about to begin, my stream crashed. That is literally what happened. Alright, let's not worry about that for now. Let's take a look at what happens here. Oh, hold on, there's a very hefty trade on the top side. That's a great shield. Ignite is burning. No, he stunned the minion, and the poke doesn't land, but that one does. The auto attack comes through, but Jax does claim the first blood bonus. Oh my god, that is tragedy on the side of Dragonfear. He stunned a minion instead of the Jax. If he stunned Jax, he would have gotten one more auto attack and be able to trade. But he didn't have his shield ready, and I believe his shield doesn't block turret shots anymore. It used to do that in old Pantheon, but this is new Pantheon, and his shield can only block in one direction rather than all of them. And it actually used to be able to block turret shots, which was so annoying for SOGs out there, especially myself, because I did not like old Pantheon. I like him a lot better now, but, I don't know what else to say. Hold on, both junglers actually do spot each other, and Mumu does get a decent trade, but Wrath of the Mummy is powered, so true damage is on a Maelstrom, but is able to look at that restore, and Brand is on the way here. That burn is taking away at him. The blue buff will be gained by him, and the Kog'Maw is flashing forward as Vel'Koz has arrived. He will claim the red buff for himself, and now the bot duo is in a world of hurt as Copyclair has to flash away, but the flash follows from the rest of Dal, and near hit will be punished with true damage from the Vel'Koz. Will take a tentacle straight into the back. And Copyclair with no mana to boot. He needs to watch out that damage. The Ardent Comet will finish him off. A double kill for the Vel'Koz. And pretty good trades on the top side. Dragonfear is hoping to recover and trying to compensate for that mishap on the top side, and he will. Another solo kill for Dragonfear, and this time he will actually get away with it. No turret stopping him, so wow. 4 minutes in and already 7 kills on the board. Kog'Maw's out of mana, and Janna is the same, so they'll have to clear this wave quick and try to get back up to base. But however, Ahri is known. Charm doesn't quite connect. Pretty good damage from Dude with Hair. We'll give him that, but look at that Vel'Koz as well. 3 kills, and it's not even 5 minutes yet, so he is going to be... I have a feeling he's going to be carrying this game, getting a lot of true damage off, but the best part about Brand AD Carry is that, he does have some pretty good wave clear, especially when you're able to burn off, enemies, getting some DOT off with the Ardent Comet, which of course doesn't apply to minions, but definitely able to, clear large minion waves, and, he can split push. He didn't even bring TP with him, which also kind of intrigues me. Like, why wouldn't a Brand bring, TP in the AD carry bot lane? Because, you're an AP champion, you can't deal consistent damage, you rely on abilities so much to be able to damage. Obviously, AP champions are not quite known for their basic attacks, unless if you're perhaps a Kaisa who builds AD, or a Katarina who will also build AD, or a Kali who builds AD. Trust me, I have friends who, they have one-trick assassins, and they are able to make AD builds work for AP assassins, so, so it goes to show that in League of Legends, no build is truly correct. Lethality Zaya. That's a weird memory that I had watching League of Legends esports back then. Oh, that's a really good trade on a Kog'Maw. Able to pock that Infernal Circle on him. So Pace, definitely a close early game, I should say, as well. Dragonfear does get his ultimate off, so now he's able to freely roam. Dark Chunko gonna try, but I wouldn't stand up to a Pantheon, especially when you're at low HP, because he does more damage to low HP targets, and he's even capable of critical hit. Like, he can critical hit a champion at low HP. Vision is going to spot out Maelstrom, but the Dragon is up. So if Pace wanted to go for this, knowing that the top laner is pretty much lacking, yes, he didn't even bring TP with him, which I also find interesting. He was hoping to go for those early game skirmishes against the Pantheon, which, yes, Jax is really one of those champions where you would suspect to go up against a Pantheon because not only is he has really good early game, especially with the fact that you can start off with Leap Strike and Counter Strike, and Grandmaster's Might is able to help him sustain some damage. But against a Pantheon, though, his Q does not count as a basic attack, so Jax can't actually block that with his Counter Strike whatsoever. I mean, it's not like a Fiora where you're easily able to parry attacks. Bubble doesn't connect. Mumu is making his presence known, but Vel'Koz is also on the way. Near hit could get hit by this, but the bandage will connect on the cannon clear underneath the turret. And near hit, he finds a kill onto the Janna. Can he actually find it onto the Kog'Maw? Well, he's going to be blocked by minions, and a turret shot is being taken, but now Judith Air is here. Order Deception doesn't connect, and he's got a Spirit Rush away. That is tragedy on the side of Judith Air. He needed that Spirit Rush damage onto Vel'Koz, and he doesn't know where he is. So now he's stuck farming minions, and no kill to be found. And you see right there what I mean by how Pantheon's Q is able to simply go through Counter-Strike. And what is Jax doing? Why is he overextending against a Pantheon? Alright, well now he's adding fuel to Pantheon's fire after what happened to Vel'Koz in the early game. And now Pace are building their way back up with the top lane doing incredibly well against the Jax. I mean, yeah, sure, Jax got the first blood bonus, but then again, it was a tie in the top lane. So you can't exactly expect, Pantheon to be, weak after just one kill on him. I mean, especially when, Riot has been, increasing the maximum stats. It's a great heist from Maelstrom, stealing that red buff. For Pantheon, you know how he's able to, deal a lot more damage where, if you stack up all 5 times, he augments his abilities to where his pokes become stronger, his spears become, basically every one of his abilities, except for his ultimate, becomes stronger. And he's able to deal lots of damage to low HP targets. Mumu, he's walking into, complete darkness, does get a Wrath of the Mummy up in a Grandmaster's Might. They actually might be able to kill Dragon Fear, and he flashes away, but he's still ignited, and now the Ragnarok is still popped, but against the Vel'Koz, how do you possibly handle this? A double kill for the Jackson, that'll get him back into the game, but what about Ahri? Dude with hair, I'd be careful if I were you. You don't have Charm, you don't even have Flash, and now Life from Disintegration Ray is going to secure it. That's another 300 gold given to Jax, and that'll even the playing field, but now he needs to catch up and farm. I assume that means he has enough gold to potentially get a legendary item, or at least very close to one. And, bot lane also sustaining a bit against a 5-assist Kog'Maw. Very good farming on Brand's part, and a really good trading as well. Able to barely land it on that Janna, and the bubbles able to sustain on the Kog'Maw, where Kog'Maw doesn't have any movement abilities to try to dodge away these bubbles. However, the Janna is able to give him a lot of movement speed. There's a tidal wave coming through, and near hit, he pops the ultimate of his own. That's Pyrocat and closing down. And a lot of damage as well. Kog'Maw has to burn the flash. It has a barrier, but everyone is missing their abilities. Really good side steps on both ends, and a Monsoon is going to heal up. Meanwhile, a 1v2 from Maelstrom. He actually might just kill the Jax, who doesn't have Counter Strike. No Dragon Throw over the side, lands a spear, and Dude with hair is here, but a little, late to the party is. Maelstrom will claim another 9-9 in kills. This is definitely a very, very interesting early game. This is a close game. I can't believe I wasn't even streaming game 1, and yet I'm actually glad I was able to catch what so far feels like a very close game 2. Oh my god. Okay, so back to my point earlier about how back when Pantheon was first reworked, his passive, being able to, every auto attack, he built up his power, and then his next ability will, be augmented. That used to be 4 stacks, and now it was 5 stacks. I mean, especially in Season 10, I believe. I think that's when that happened. Pantheon was insanely good, especially back when he was, first released. Or rather, when his rework was first released. Being able to completely, 1v1 skirmish a lot of champions. I mean, obviously, he's not the most broken champion in League history. That would be like League of Legends Alpha Xin Zhao. I keep hearing how he was busted. Especially, early Twisted Fate when his ultimate back then was actually just a regular ability. You can simply hop into the enemy's fountain just because. That was when, Destiny was global. Pantheon is definitely a little weaker than, of course, when he was back then. It's a really good spear, wow. He has Eclipse, and he's got, the ability haste boost, so he's going to be landing abilities up right and center, and he'll even claim the first turret. That's a first turret plating bonus. Of course, turret platings are technically gone, or rather, they actually don't deplete whatsoever. So you can spend like 30 minutes into a single game and still get, you know, plating bouncy on these turrets. Really good trading on Pace's end. There's a Spirit Rush and the Orb of Deception. The second cast doesn't quite connect, and now Dude with Hair's got one more stack left. But what about the bottom lane? I'd be concerned about Janna. Look, here's the Amumu and a Spirit Rush away. The Charm doesn't quite connect, and there you go. Maelstrom is on his way, however. Hoping to go for the Vel'Koz. He actually flashes into it, and that's a life form disintegration, right? Not enough damage to get the burst damage, but it doesn't matter as Big Yoshi will claim a kill. And now Dude with Hair is next on the menu, up against a double buff of Mumu. Down he goes. 2 more kills for Dal, but what about Dragon Fear? As Mumu's got to flash away, but Dragon Fear doesn't really have enough damage to try to compensate for that. Pace are taking kind of weird-looking trades, especially in the mid lane, where Dude with Hair hasn't been able to land these Spirit Rushes effectively. You know, in the early game where he was trying to, I guess you could say, one-shot the Vel'Koz in the bush, or rather, he approached lane against the low HP Vel'Koz with Spirit Rush projectiles. He actually could have gotten that off and potentially got more kills, because when you get a kill while in Spirit Rush, you do get a reset. So, I'm not sure why Dude with Hair didn't continue after that, but now he's pretty much lacking behind. He doesn't have a legendary item just yet up against a Vel'Koz who has a perfect KD of 7 right now. I mean, the early game really did help him out a lot, so now it's up to the top lane to kind of sustain that. After, especially when they did get the first turret of the game, but however, Dal did get Void Grub, so they do have a push advantage if they can somehow win another fight. They haven't really truly been able to push down the lanes as well as Pace does. I mean, yes, you can say Pace definitely has the better comp in the early game, and then you have to wait until about 15 or 20 minutes or so for the Kog'Maw to truly become online. You can argue that Kog'Maw is online, especially with the, you know, the items that he has. It's good that he has, you know, the attack speed necessary and the poke necessary. He's got the Janna to boost up his speed as well. But I will say it's not enough because he's unable to defend himself. There's a Pyroclasm coming out, and there's the burst damage coming in, and Olaf has made his way onto the scene, has the axe to do a reset, and the Acathian Surprise is just going to do a couple damage on these minions, but Pace are able to free up this wave, potentially push the turret, and, you know, Dragon, it's up, so they can also claim it knowing that Kog'Maw is not an issue for them, and an extra plating, and the quest is completed for near hits. That is a solid win on Pace's end. They get so much value from that fight alone. The Dragon, a couple turret platings, and now they may just get a bonus onto the Vel'Koz. That's another kill for Dragon Fear. However, I would have given that to the Ahri if I were you, because I think Dragon Fear, he's able to sustain fights on his own with the shield, now that he's level 11 with the second upgrade to the ultimate. So Dude with Hair would have been much more happy with that kill because he needs a legendary item now. He is overdue, and if he's willing to, like, you know, take all these trades with the Spirit Rush, he needs a legendary item. Say Janna, look both ways before you cross the street there. I mean, obviously you had no vision. And Mumu is spotted. Oh no, takes advantage. I don't think that's what you wanted to do, my friend. That's a Wrath of the Mummy down, but a red buff is in. But what about the Orb of Deception? Dude with Hair can just chase him down and lands a Flash Charm. That's good on Dude with Hair's part. Finally a kill for him, but what about the bottom side? Monsoon is popped to heal up the Kog'Maw, and he doesn't land the bubble, but Dragon Fear's air from the skies, what do you call it? The skies descend. No, the skies descend. That's the Aurelion Soul ultimate. As Jax will push up the top lane. What do you call it? Grand Starfall, that's what it's called. I get the two confused. But then again, you know, Aurelion Soul and Pantheon, they are related in lore, because, you know, they have, you know, Star. They're both from Mount Targon, so I guess if you're a lore enthusiast, you would also get the League of Legends abilities confused as well. Dude with Hair, wow, TP's in, and already his HP bar is half. That's a fed Vel'Koz and a half with Luden's Echo as well. I don't know how I feel about, you know, the Luden's Echo coming back. I kind of miss that item, even though, you know, what was it before the Luden's? It was in the shape of a gun, sort of like the Hextech Gunblade. But, you know, Luden's Echo is the one that everyone knows. I mean, especially since a lot of people played League back during the pandemic, and that is when the item, I guess, was first reworked. Alright, now let's see how things go down. Pace, off to a 3,000 gold lead. They do have a Dragon. They don't have Void Grubs, but they are pushing the base like there's no tomorrow with bot lane and top lane. Top lane basically taking down, so they'll be able to freely push. That's a charm, and Dude with Hair is able to kill him. There's the Spirit Rush, and finally Dude with Hair will claim one against the Vel'Koz. 3 for him, and he is back into this game with the red buff and one more Spirit Rush to boot. But this means that without any mid laner, Pace are able to freely push and get that. I know I probably keep saying freely push. Oh, Dude with Hair, he is baiting the Mumu into a fight, and Capiclair lands it. Doesn't land the bubble. But now they know where the jungler is, and Pace are confident that they can take the Rift Herald, especially with Dragon Fear trying to spot out Jax. There's the shields come in and trying to block all necessary attacks. However, I'd be careful if I were you, because Grandmaster's Might is very strong at this point in the game, and he's got a flash as well, leap strike, and a shutdown onto the Jax. Much needed at that, because it felt like he was lagging behind all game, and now he's got his revenge. But what about the Janna? She doesn't have shields, and the DOT is ticking away. How did Near Hit pick up that kill? I swear to God. Maelstrom is also potentially going to find an easy top laner to kill, because he's got Ragnarok available and a leap strike, and Dude with Hair is also here. Only barely able to miss out on that kill on Maelstrom. Cappy Claire's got to be careful, because now he's slowed down by the Vel'Koz, has to flash away. Nearhead's been doing a good job of landing these abilities, taking full advantage of the augments that the Nami has been aiming at. A Life Form Disintegration Rate just barely doesn't kill him. Bonus plating as well for Vel'Koz, so a small consolation prize for not being able to land that kill. However, Duke with Hair is about to have Spirit Rush in a moment, and Dragon Fear has made his way into the bottom. He is so quick on his rotations from lane to lane, and he doesn't even need his ultimate to prove that. But now top lane is in a world of hurt, as now the Rift Herald got a charge off. So top lane is really being put under the pressure onto Dark Choco. Choco, Coco, I'm like, you know, gamer tag. I'm probably just going to call them by their champions just to kind of make it easier to cast in the team fights. But let's see what happens here. Alright, so, yeah, there's fights tend to happen a lot, you know, for college esports. And you know what? That's not a bad thing at all. I think League of Legends needs a lot of action. And, you know, I'm glad that college is able to kind of compensate for, you know, for the LCK, what kind of feels like one of those farming simulators. Of lands a counter-strike on Dude with Hair. This could be a potential kill, but doesn't have any leap strikes available. So that should be a freebie onto the Jax. Alright, so late game wise, Kog'Maw with Bork, with the bow, and his quest is also completed. So he has an item. He has a boot item, but we just can't see it. He should be definitely in good shape to team fight if Mumu and Jax have to lock down these targets for the Kog'Maw, because yes, while Janna can do it, the tornado, people are aware of, you know, being able to easily sidestep the tornadoes during team fights, unless if Janna were to actually charge up her, you know, pre-charge her tornado in the back. Oh my God, Dragon Fear, you have no fear whatsoever. That's an Ignite taken on Janna. That's a kill. My God, he has no fear this entire game. He is 10-3-4. Guys, I am hoping that we go to a game 3, and I'm hoping that the overlay will actually come online, because I would love to show you what it looks like. As a Mumu, he actually hooks into Dragon Fear, and with Maelstrom in the area, Jax is on his way as well, does land a leap strike, but Mumu will be the first to die in the team fight, so Dark Choco has to do something about it. Dragon Fear was not even close to his passive, but who cares about that? He gets a kill as well. Oh my God, 2 for 0, and Pace consistently finding these re-engages. It feels like now Dal is, what do you call it, confident in their ability to try to stop this late game from Pace from coming online, but they had a really close 9 minutes. But midway through, Pace were able to find fights where, you know, Dude with Hair was constantly roaming, Maelstrom was constantly roaming, and Dragon Fear as well, who had no fear against the Drax in the top lane, and was able to kind of compensate for the, well, I wish I can compare and contrast Game 1 to Game 2, but sadly, we couldn't stream Game 1 because of my internet. But now, Pace have been able to, you know, find the proper targeting, find the proper fights as well. They have really good objective control, as now Maelstrom, you know, continuously farming, and with Near Hit being able to easily poke down this bottom lane, landing ability after ability after ability, and, you know, Cappy Claire is definitely happy about that. Look how much damage he's doing to the Janna, and that was just with his E alone. But Dude with Hair could be in a world of hurt, does have a Spirit Rush, but also had to flash away, which I think was a bit excessive, but no, either way, Dude with Hair is out of there. He does have a 250 gold bounty. He should not be giving this up, especially at this stage in the game. But as I was saying, how Near Hit, you know, he's been very happy landing these abilities, and Cappy Claire should be happy as well, because with him consistently augmenting Brand's abilities with strong poke, you know, throughout the game, these two have been such a great duo, I would say. Even in the fights that they lost, they still gained a lot of value from it, as they're consistently farming. Dude with Hair and Vel'Koz, what felt like a Vel'Koz favorite game with like you know, 4 kills in the early game. Dude with Hair, he seems to be about even, but still missing a legendary item. But he, you know, it is doable for him to team fight. And Amumu, I wouldn't say this is safe, my friend. But you know, looking at Maelstrom's kid, that's a really good title flare. That's 3 and a double bubble. But what about the Jax? And he is charmed up, so he can't stun more than a single target. And that is tragedy for Dal. That's 3 kills already for Pace University. They can freely push down middle, but they're gonna go for Baron instead. Oh my god. And that's tried, like I said, that hurts to be a Jack player right now because, you know, that was a clutch charm from Dude with Hair being able to stop that leap strike from hopping onto multiple targets. And if that leap strike were to land, then multiple targets would have hit on Pace, but Pace's members were already dying left, right, and center, and Life Form Disintegration Rate is still up for Vel'Koz. He never got to use it in that team fight. Now he gets to use it until eventually stopped by the charm from Dude with Hair. But the Orb of Deception, no! He hopped right back into the queue! Dude with Hair, what are you doing, bro? Oh, no. Yeah, I had to clip that. I'm sorry. You saw that he was like literally one shot away from killing the Vel'Koz up on Mumu. He's going to go for a Wrath of the Mummy here, but Nearhit's also got to be careful because he's within turret range. That's really good sidestepping, but, you know, you're still walking onto the enemy side. Now Dark Choco could find an easy top laner to kill, but Maelstrom is here. Bubble's going to zone them away. Oh my god, just as soon as Pace found a miracle, they even stopped Baron just to, you know, start another fight, and Vel'Koz didn't even die from that. They started a fight that they couldn't even finish themselves. They had control, but gave it up like that. And Dude with Hair, you know, I love you, man. How could you do this to your team? Maelstrom's not gonna be able to stop this mini wave. I mean, Jax is also not afraid to step face first into a Pantheon once again. I'm getting sick and tired of saying that, I swear. Like, every time you've noticed this, that every time every time Jax goes in and tries to 1v1 with either Maelstrom or Dude with Hair, Pantheon is always there to, you know, lend a hand. You know, it's like basically Shen, except in the form of a gladiator or something, you know, minus the shields for your teammates, of course. Alright, well now for Kog'Maw and Nearhit. So let's talk a little more about this bot lane matchup. With now Kog'Maw being able to land on hits, he's got the Rage Blade, he's got the Bork, so he's able to sustain himself quite well and gaining a couple extra daggers. It is still, of course, completely doable for Nearhit team fights. The two of them are, from the items alone, you can tell they are about even in gold. Nearhit is able to consistently poke down the Kog'Maw. Yes, Kog'Maw has red buff, but you know, Nearhit with the poking advantage, the constant DOT, as well as the Frozen Spectre to slow down these targets, making it easier to land all these combos. Maelstrom's looking for another heist onto the blue buff. You know, Mumu able to catch that. Now let's take a look at what happens here. So you see the augments from Nearhit, and yes, he is a level below, but you know, he still has got confidence as well. And speaking of confidence, Maelstrom is going to Ragnarok onto a Mumu, but can he land the axes? The answer is going to be yes, and the Wrath of the Mummy, it's not going to save him one bit as a Life Form Disintegration Rate comes out. Shields also won't come through, but Dude with Hair has a Spirit Rush available. Tries to jump away, still gets stunned, but 2 more Spirit Rushes left. Does he actually land this onto the Jax? I think he's going to do it. No, he needs to land one more, and the Grandmaster's Might will not save the Jax. Finally, Dude with Hair gets a solo kill and finish what he started, or finish what he should have finished against Vel'Koz in that team fight, because if they finished off that Vel'Koz in that situation, that would have straight up been a free Baron on Pace's end. Still, doable for Pace. They have a 6,000 gold lead. Everyone seems to have a gold lead on each other, except for the bot lane. Because I think that with Kog'Maw having one level ahead of Nearhit, yes, this season has proven that, you know, you could be pretty much, you know, largely down in CS, but you can still, you know, feel even in terms of gold, right? I don't know how exactly to feel about Dude with Hair here. I might just die here. The Orb of Deception doesn't quite connect, and now Janna is able to just freely poke him down like that. I don't know how to feel about, you know, this new season when it comes to tower demolition. I will say, definitely an interesting concept where the turret platings will never fall whatsoever, and if you don't attack a turret for a long time, the crystals will build up, dealing a lot of burst damage onto these turrets. However, my criticism comes in where this also applies to Tier 2 and Inhibitor, and I believe it also applies to Nexus turrets as well. No, I think Nexus turrets are the only ones where this does not apply to. As Nearhit, you are lost in the sauce, my friend. That was not good. And now Cappy Clark's got to flash away. But while that's happening, Pace is still pushing bots because they could perhaps push this Kog'Maw, who gets hit by a spear, doesn't even have flash available, and a barrier to buy some time. But that's just to delay the inevitable. Vel'Koz is on his way back, only Nearhit dying. So Pace able to slightly compensate for that. Well, I guess you could say overcommitment that Nearhit went to. He was kind of exploring in the lane, assuming that his team was close by, but not quite. So I will say, I kind of like the theme that this, what do you call it, that the Demacia theme is going for. I also love the fact that Riot is doing themed maps in terms of lore. You know, they are kind of mixed bag in terms of gimmicks. I didn't mind the Spirit Blossom one. The Noxus one was also pretty cool. I love the Otacon. It's also very interesting lore-wise, but I think if you've watched the like this year's League of Legends cinematic, I think the lore is really starting to come in with Ynnari and its relation with Ionia versus Noxus. If you watch the lore, then you will see why this game. If you watch the lore, you will definitely see why the map changes, as well as like increasing the world building on the map by adding monsters like Otacon and other monsters that have appeared back then. I think he was really the only one who was truly added to the game. Otacon, the only unique monster added to the game, because Noxus did not. Sorry, Spirit Blossom did not introduce brand new monsters, but it did introduce him to Give Me Some Horn. Now Tidal Wave is going to stop that bandage, but that's not going to save him one bit. As Dude with Hair is on the scene, doesn't connect the charm, but now Dragon Fear, he's looking for Vel'Koz, and Wrath of the Mummy is going to buy him some time, but the Life from Disintegration Ray is completely stopped. Dragon Fear is legendary, and Dude with Hair can look for a re-engage as well as a reset. Doesn't have Flash available, but Near Hit, along with Dude with Hair, will claim the Kog'Maw. And Dragon Fear, again, no fear. This is legendary 17-3. He is simply too fed to be stopped. Dragon's not even up for another 2.5 minutes or so, and Pace are on soul point with the Chemtech Drake, so if they get Chemtech soul, then it might as well be GG, but I guess you could say the Jax could be the only hero that's Dal needs at this point, because it does land a counter strike, but look at the shield on Dragon Fear. He is 3 levels up against his own component, where even Maelstrom can straight up solo kill him, but that's beside the point. Inhibitor turret is going to drop right here. I guess with the Crystallize on these turrets, they would take increased damage, period. Which I'm honestly not a fan of. Yes, it would technically make games a lot quicker, but one thing I will say is that it does make games a lot closer, which I think is great. And as I was mentioning how, I've noticed this in a lot of my games that I've been playing this season, where, if you're like an AD carry with a much worse KD than, your opponent, and you still farm evenly, you still technically have a chance. You still have a chance at fighting them, which I guess is interesting. The leveling system, I feel like, is kind of awkward, because no matter how hard I try to farm, I'm still always a level down of my opponent, even if I can actually solo kill them. I don't know. That's just me, though. But I'm sure that a lot of AD carry players would relate. Alright, well, with Baron on the Rift, I would assume that Pace should try to rotate Baron. I mean, Vel'Koz is also recalling, even if they don't know it, but Vel'Koz and Jax do have TP, so if Pace were to fight here, Dal could potentially have the positioning advantage, as now they know where the jungler is right there. Dragon's not spawning for another minute, so Pace are trying to set up their vision. Where, speaking of setting up their vision, they're trying to go for the China right away, and a Ragnarok into the backside, but that's a Wrath of the Mummy trying to stop the rest of Pace from engaging with Maelstrom, and because he has Ragnarok, he cannot be stopped by the slows of Vel'Koz. He's going to chase him down, and Kog'Maw is third on the menu. I think he might just be able to do it, but a Living Artillery is not enough damage. Dude, the dude just basically solo killed 3 members while the rest of Pace were dying. This man's got no fear, and somehow that bandage connects, and finally Amumu will claim him. Only barely, however, as Near Hit doesn't land his Q, but he needs to land more abilities at some point. He's walking into the enemy base, but he's also walking into a low HP Amumu, so either way, he's hoping to look to get a kill here, but no Pyroclasm available. Oh, that should do it. Oh my god, I'm losing my train of thought here already. Like, these fights just feel ridiculous. Oh my god, College Esports, they're fun to watch. Meanwhile, Pace are going to be pushing down the lanes. All 3 inhibitors are going to go down. Pace hoping to end the game right here. 30 seconds on Jax, but the bottom inhibitor, I believe, sorry, the scoreboard is covering it, but Near Hit's going to die to the Life from Disintegration Ray, so they will not get the 3rd inhibitor. But, 2 inhibitors, that is enough, and they are going to put themselves on soul point. Dark Choco can't join the fight. Vel'Koz, yes, he would love a TP, but I wouldn't TP, especially if you're up against a ward that is Dragon Fear alone. And a knock up on the tidal wave of Kog'Maw has made his way into the fight, dodges the bubble, but Dude with Hair is going to get kited. Dal do have good vision around this as well, because they have vision from, the wards in that Tribush that they just set up, as well as the control ward where they spot out the Pantheon, and that's the target that they should be really careful trying to push. Vel'Koz is going to need to land as much poke damage as possible, especially when Amumu is also a half HP, so if he were to try to go for a smite fight, it's not going to be safe for him in particular, but he's got to be the miracle maker. Oh, Dude with Hair, well, he's going to definitely be the miracle for Pace, as now he's shut down the support, and Amumu is in no man's land at this point. And Maelstrom can really chase him down. That's a lot of lifesteal on this Olaf. One more Spirit Rush to go, and Vel'Koz should die here. He's going to go golden and Grand Starfall. Pace can actually straight up end here because that's 40-second death timers, and Dragon Fear agrees with me. He's going to get hit by both turret shots when the Grandmaster's might divide time, but that is his single remaining jewel. This Maelstrom can simply chase him under the tower. Pace are tanky at this point against turrets, and Vel'Koz last man standing, but these Nexus turrets will not save him, and the final spear is going to connect, and baby, why wasn't I streaming game 1? Well, I'm glad I streamed game 2 because we are going to go to a third game. We are 1-1 in the scoreline. 66 kills in 30 minutes. Wow. Do you believe that? I mean, I still can't believe we're actually going to a game 3. I thought that was done because when I was asking Lazy Titan how did game 1 go, and he said it was ass. So, he did not like it. He did not like how the first game went. So let me actually just set the overlay up right here to jump straight into game 3. Give me 1 second. Okay. Space picked red side in the first game. See that they're already ready to go. We are just getting the Subtle Mundo ref. Let's check on the stream itself. Let's make sure that everything is active. Yeah, 6 viewers. Yeah, it was literally 12 viewers before. Let me also post the link to the chat. Okay, well, let's wait until Dropflow comes in. Actually, let's talk about the game briefly before we begin. So, lots of early game skirmishes. We had like 18 kills in about 9 minutes or so. The early game looked extremely close. Pace was able to win out the early game with some amazing objective control, and the fact that Dragonfire was able to sustain a lot against a Jax, where he was not only finding solo kills against the Jax, even when he didn't get the first blood bonus. He roamed around across lane to lane. He didn't even have to roam in the bot lane to help out, his team a lot because... Sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. He didn't even need to go to the bot lane that often to simply, grab a kill for his bot lane. His bot lane was already doing pretty well, and a Brand and a Nami can already technically sustain itself. It can already deal a lot of damage even when behind because you have the Nami augments and the Tidal Wave able to allow Brand to easily stack up his ultimate with a Pyroclasm. Pyroclasm? I'm like, I get those names confused. Anyway, let's just say he's able to stack up his DOT, where he can cast those burning rings of fire more often than not. And for Kog'Maw, because of that, because of so much damage being dealt to him, he wasn't able to take advantage of, having a Janna where he's able to increase his movement speed. And, he was getting hit by bubble after bubble after bubble. So Cappy Claire in particular, I would say, should be, the better end of the bot lane in that game because he was able to, clearly protect near hit so often from a Kog'Maw. Yes, you can say Kog'Maw is a very weak early game champion. I mean, even so, you could argue that Brand is also the same because, with Brand not having the ability to stack his Ring of Fire constantly, and especially against a Kog'Maw where he has the movement speed to dodge attacks, he's able to sidestep attacks constantly with the Zephyr passive. Or should I say of the Janna passive. Zephyr is one of her abilities, but it's all, she had a tailwind to back him up. We're just waiting to get everything ready. And with Dragon Fear's lack of fear, I should say, why do you call him Dragon Fear when he was not fearful whatsoever? He ended that game with like almost, I think, about 20 kills. So he had no fear going up against the Jax, regardless of how behind he was, especially up against the Vel'Koz. I think the biggest question mark in that game was definitely dude with hair, but I will also say the Amumu from the last game, because Amumu was constantly, bandaging himself into fights without his team being there, and it felt like every time that he was engaging on a Maelstrom, Dragon Fear was there, if not he was ulting to assist him. So, I mean, I get that, like, you're in a Mumu where, you bandage into a fight, and you're able to get a lot of damage firsthand. Amumu's got true damage with his Wrath of the Mummy and his W. But still, though, you technically need a team to still fight, a freaking Olaf, who at that point of the game was fed from, helping Dragonfear often in the game. So I don't even know who the biggest question mark was. I mentioned Dude with Hair being a question mark because his Spirit Rush usage, yes, he, in multiple scenarios, he had like a stack of it available to finish off a target, more specifically the Vel'Koz and the Amumu in a couple of scenarios. But, like, even if he were to use it, I still would imagine he would have gotten at least close to getting out, because you saw that fight where he could have wrapped up that Vel'Koz with one more Spirit Rush, and, with Spirit Rush, if you get a takedown, you get a stack back, so he would have gotten perhaps a get out of jail free card, at least. So he would have, been able to get out of there, simply get a kill, get a bonus 300 gold, and Vel'Koz had a shutdown as well. And that was also coming after Pace got 3 kills for 0. Pace basically won a fight, and yet they didn't know what to do with that win. Yes, they would have went for Baron, but Dude with Hair even opted to fight. He opted to continue fighting, hopefully taking down the Vel'Koz, which supposedly would have solidified their choice to go for Baron. But still, you technically didn't need to fight that because the jungler was dead in that scenario, so there was no smite fight. Pace would have basically been guaranteed a Baron if Dude with Hair didn't engage there. But that is in the past, and I'm sure that they will be perhaps looking into that game. But then again, custom games are not saved in the profiles, which I find kind of BS, because if you were to review your game, and I'm hoping that this VOD will be saved, because I'm sure Pace would love to be looking into this game. Because while they won in, what looked like a very bloodthirsty fashion, there was still a lot that needed to be looked over. Pretty much from, well, it was, let me get this straight here. Dude with Hair is a good player. Like, he has confidence. He's played Assassins before, back when he was a mid laner. I think he's still a mid laner now, regularly at least. But yeah, there was still a lot of questionable choices that they should definitely be looking at in spite of it being a win. Just because it's a win doesn't mean, you don't have to look at the game. You still technically need to look, because the mistakes still live on. All right. They are looking ready to go. There was no draft lull link sent to me, so I assume that we're going to be going into Champion Select through the client, or we're going to get a link to draft lull, and then we'll see what they draft up from there. All right. But let me know what you guys think. You guys saw the game, and I hope everyone enjoyed it. But now we're on to Game 3. So yeah, they did a draft lull. So let's take a look at what they're setting up right here. Pace are sticking with that blue side. So that saves me the trouble of switching up the overlay a little bit. This time the overlay should come online. I'll have to refresh it a bit once we start loading into the game. Pace. Oh, I thought Fearless Draft was active. Okay, so one thing I forgot to mention was I guess Fearless Draft does not apply here. Dragonfear is going for Olaf this time, so Maelstrom is going to be passing the torch, or should I say passing the axe, toward Dragonfear with the Olaf. And Maelstrom is going to go for the newly done Xin Zhao. Dude with Hair is going for a mid lane Morgana. Pace are really flexing on their picks, trying to confuse Dal as much as possible, because with Dal's comps, you can tell what their positions are. But for Pace, you thought that the Brand was going to go mid. You thought that the Olaf is going to go, jungle. No, he's going top. Morgana is going to go mid instead of support. No, Pace? This is very interesting. I find this to be an interesting strategy. I would not expect Pace Pro White to flex their picks, to have like so many different flex picks in one single draft. But you know what? I like that, because not only it feels like G2 2019, right? Where they played whatever the hell they wanted, and they did a lot in that year. They won 3 out of 4 trophies. They almost had that Grand Slam simply because they played whatever the hell they wanted, and they didn't care about the meta. And honestly, that's probably the best kind of super team you want, right? Where, you really don't know what's going to happen. But that only makes games more exciting and maybe more heartbreaking. But you know what? Moments that people will supposedly remember. All right. Once the game truly begins, let's take a 3-minute break. Because I need to drink water. I need my voice to kind of recover from the game. And then we will talk further about the comps once the game begins. So, game 3, 1-1 the scoreline. This is to decide it all. See you guys then.
Did I steal your ace? My fault. Give me a sec, I'm healing.
Where's the follow-up? What? Wait.
Guys, where's
Guys,
Why?
my dumbass just said Sky, come here. Oh, what the hell?
no my ace? You fucking bacon little. I hate you.
Ready? I'm gonna ult you
Wait,
now.
there should be a corner right here that we can walk through. Oh, never mind. There's no corner.
Just wait it out, wait it out. We have 7 seconds.
I know where she is. Wait, oh, do what? No, my ace just.
Wait!
There might be coming back A.
Wait, get those guns. There's no one. No, there is. There's one here. Chambers here.
I think it's just a chamber. Do we? Oh shit, yeah.
Huh? Huh? No, he
Fake, it's fake. It's
The almost 99. Ace, yeah.
I'm gonna bait for you. I'll bait for you.
He's stuck there.
stuck corner.
Oh, that one's for you, Mom.
I love having less.
Oh my
less
god, and it was a
skills
recon
and
dart
stuff like
too.
You know.
Do your thing, buddy.
Way the freaking
He
come
didn't
on,
even
brother.
mean it! Oh, he didn't even mean that shot too. Watch this, watch this. Wait, watch this.
No way. That
A bitter end.
Oh, wait, what? Is that Hans?